Today, we're diving straight into one of the most wild and perplexing mysteries out there, the legendary D.B. Cooper heist. Now, you probably already know the basic timeline, so we're not just going to rehash that. Instead, we're zeroing in on the intense, harrowing physical realities of his daring escape. I mean, think about it. Can a guy in a standard business suit step into a 200-mile-per-hour freezing jet stream and actually live to tell the tale? That is the legend. But when we strip away the myth and look at the raw, unforgiving physical facts of how he made that exit, the story takes on a much darker, far more dangerous tone.
So, to really get into this, we have to ask the central question that pretty much defines this entire mystery. What are the actual chances of surviving a 10,000-foot jump into a freezing storm? Picture this for a second. It's the middle of a raging, stormy night. You are literally leaping from a commercial jet into pitch-black nothingness. Could anyone actually survive those brutal elements? The wildest part here is that more than 50 years later, nobody actually knows what really happened to the man who challenged the authorities and then, poof, seemed to vanish into thin air. No body was ever found. His real identity never confirmed. Let's do a super quick review of the timeline of this perfectly executed hijacking, just to set the stage for that critical, stormy moment. It was November 24th, 1971, the day before Thanksgiving. Portland International Airport is absolutely packed with holiday travelers. Right in the middle of all that chaos is an incredibly ordinary-looking guy in a dark business suit. He calmly buys a one-way ticket to Seattle on Flight 305 under the name Dan Cooper. Shortly after takeoff, he sets his plan into motion, eventually gets his ransom on the ground in Seattle, and then, inexplicably, orders the plane right back up into the night sky. Now, this whole ordeal began when this impossibly average-looking guy quietly calls over a flight attendant and just hands her a folded note. When she doesn't read it right away, he leans in closer and basically tells her, "You'd better look at that." The note had just a few chilling words. "I have a bomb." He pops open his briefcase just enough to reveal a battery, some wires, and red cylinders. And look, to this day, no one actually knows if that explosive was real. But the quiet terror he created meant absolutely nobody on that flight was going to take that gamble. And this contrast is exactly what makes the case so endlessly fascinating. Inside the cabin, Cooper is perfectly calm. He never shouts, he never panics. He's literally just sipping a bourbon and politely listing out his demands for $200 grand in cash, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle. But outside those windows, it's a completely different world. The environment was deteriorating rapidly into heavy rain, biting winds, and absolute darkness. So you have this perfectly composed man sitting inside a warm cabin, flying directly into a violent, freezing storm. Section 1. The strange decision, leaving the ground. So the authorities agree to his demands. The plane lands safely in Seattle, the passengers are released, and the ransom is delivered. Cooper got exactly what he asked for. Yet he makes the completely baffling decision to force the crew to take that aircraft back up into the storm. Because as it turns out, his real escape plan was only just starting. Once they're airborne again, Cooper kicks off a highly dangerous sequence of events. Step 1, he ties a canvas bag packing $200,000 in cash, which weighs roughly 21 pounds by the way, directly to his body. Step 2, he straps on a parachute. Step 3, fighting immense wind resistance, he forces open the rear staircase of the Boeing 727 mid-flight. And finally, Step 4. At exactly 8:13 p.m., he stepped off. Section 2. Analyzing the survival odds. All right, let's really dig into this, because the crucial point here is that staggering altitude, 10,000 feet. Stepping out of a pressurized, climate-controlled cabin into the open air at that height in late November is, frankly, a biological nightmare. It's not just the dropping ambient temperatures you have to worry about. Stepping into the slipstream of a jet moving at 200 miles per hour creates a wind chill factor that would instantly freeze exposed skin. And remember, he was wearing nothing but a business suit, a trench coat, and loafers. That outfit offers absolutely zero thermal protection against the massive shock his body would take the absolute second he hit that freezing air. But he wasn't just battling the cold and the sheer drop, he was facing a deadly combination of lethal variables. We're talking heavy rain violently lashing at his face. We're talking strong crosswinds tearing at him, which, by the way, makes a standard issue military parachute almost impossible to steer. Oh, and pitch black darkness. Just imagine this for a second. You're free-falling at over 100 miles an hour, completely blind, desperately trying to find a ripcord with frozen hands, carrying 21 pounds of dead weight strapped to your waist, all while knowing jagged pine trees and rugged wilderness are somewhere directly below you. The physical odds of pulling that off successfully are just staggeringly low.
The absolute second he disappeared into that storm, one of the largest manhunts in American history kicked off. FBI agents scoured the forests, the rivers, the mountains, and all the remote wilderness areas beneath that flight path. You had helicopters scanning the unforgiving landscape from above, desperately looking for a white parachute tangled in the trees, a body, or maybe scattered bills. Hundreds of suspects were pulled in and investigated. But nothing. They found absolutely no trace of him. No body, no parachute, no money. It was literally as if that violent storm had simply erased him from existence. Section 3. The Hunt for Evidence. For 9 long years, this trail was completely ice cold. Fingerprints and DNA leads went absolutely nowhere. But then, in 1980, something totally unexpected happens. A young boy is playing along the banks of the Columbia River, just digging in the sand, when he suddenly unearths bundles of decaying cash. Investigators rush to the scene and confirm the impossible. The serial numbers on those deteriorating bills perfectly matched the exact recorded serial numbers of the ransom given to Cooper on that stormy night. This discovery obviously made massive headlines across America, but it created a huge paradox. Think about it. If the money was buried in the sand by the river, where was Cooper? So this paradoxical discovery basically leaves investigators weighing 2 stark theories. Theory 1, he died in the jump, completely overcome by the brutal wind chill, the freezing drop, the blinded descent, and that rugged terrain. The storm simply consumed him. He perished on impact or from exposure, and eventually some of that money just washed downriver. But then there's theory 2. He survived. Against absolutely impossible physical odds, he successfully deployed his chute with freezing hands, navigated the deadly drop, safely hit the ground, stashed some cash, and just walked right out of the woods to live out his life under a totally new identity. As we wrap up this explainer, we really have to look back at those brutal physical elements and ask ourselves one last time. When D.B. Cooper stepped off that staircase at 8:13 p.m., plunging into the freezing, violent unknown, did the dark forests and the raging storm claim him, burying his secret forever? Or did this incredibly ordinary-looking guy in a business suit somehow manage to beat the impossible odds and pull off the ultimate escape? To this day, the truth remains completely missing, just like D.B. Cooper.